welcome to the Infinity Bros podcast, the only podcast that's perfectly balanced, as all things should be. I'm your host, Max Mosier, back again with you on episode 97. Grateful you're here, wherever you're listening, however you're listening. Thanks for making us part of your podcast experience. I'm here today with two other Infinity Bros. First, it's Infinity Bro Isaac. Isaac, welcome back.
Thank you very much. I'm having a great weekend so far. I'm still full from Friendsgiving yesterday. Literally, we ate at 1:30 p.m. and I was full the rest of the day. Didn't have to eat supper. I was fine. So, yeah, and then today, my wife and I do not have our children, so we went out to eat by ourselves, and it was amazing. Haven't had a date night for a while, so yeah, it was a great night, and I am full from date night, so it's been a good couple days as far as eating goes.
Yeah, that was a very detailed answer for how you doing.
He went into it, yeah.
I did, I'm feeling full, I'm feeling satisfied, it's been a good weekend.
Good for you.
It's
no,
good.
That's fine.
It's
It's a humble brag that your parents took your kids after Thanksgiving.
Yes, it really is. That's what I want the Infinity Bros universe to know, is that I am having a great time. Especially Robbie. I want Infinity Bro Robbie, to know that, because he was a little salty last night that we were getting our kids taken care of for us. So
yes, we as a Infinity Bros, except for our next guest, who I'll introduce in a second, all got together for Friendsgiving. It was wonderful. Wherever your Thanksgiving was, hope it was a great Thanksgiving. But this bro was not able to make it, but he's able to grace us digitally now. And I can't think of a better person or guest outside of maybe Matt Fraction himself to be on this episode.
Wow.
It's Jarret Curtis. Jarret, how you doing?
That's high praise. I'm doing fantastic.
high praise.
I don't know how to follow that. Okay, do I need a chapter book like Isaac did, or can I just say I'm doing good?
Just do the Sparks Notes version.
I think we're going to hold Isaac from this point on to 140 characters like Twitter, because
Right.
that was a very Facebook-esque post.
That's true. I did reveal a bit too much information with that. I'll try to refrain from that next time.
He just shouted to the heavens, I am doing great, and I don't care what you think. The kids are gone. In your face, world.
Suck it, everybody.
Jarret, how you doing, man?
I'm doing fantastic. Like Isaac, I had 50 plates yesterday. I made this joke in chat, but Thanksgiving Jarret is what Joey Chestnut checks under his bed for. I put on 35 pounds yesterday. So yeah, I'm doing wonderful.
And not to mention, you were fired up when we were talking about our Thanksgiving top foods. Jarret was getting very spicy in chat.
I loved it. That was fantastic.
If you guys haven't listened to the latest episode of the Infinity Bros podcast, episode 96, I believe it is, we did our top 5 Thanksgiving foods, and yeah, it got pretty intense.
Controversial takes for sure.
It got heated, and the whole argument about macaroni and cheese, I have seen people fight for that in other spaces that didn't really watch our podcast or listen to our podcast, but we're fighting on this, including Matthew Judon of the NFL. He said it's just macaroni and cheese, literally grow up. And Jarret and I had a big fight digitally over that. So we're gonna try to break bread today over that. And but it was a great Thanksgiving, and we're thankful you're here. And if you're listening, we know why you're here. There's a reason you're here. This Thanksgiving, you were also thankful for Hawkeye episodes 1 and 2, the newest Disney Plus series, a series based on the Marvel Comics superhero Hawkeye, centering on the adventures of young Avenger Kate M. Bishop, who took on the role after the original Avenger Clint Barton. It is stars Jeremy Renner, Haley Steinfeld, Florence Pugh, Tony Dalton, Vera Farmiga, Fra Fay, Linda Cardellini, Alex Ponovic, Peter Adamski. I have not had one drink tonight. I have had a cup of tea, and I don't know how to say that word, guys. Forgive me. Ava Russo, Alequa Cox, and Brian Darcy James plays Derek Bishop, as we found out in episode 1. I would imagine that there's going to be some other people, but we will talk about those later. I think I accidentally may have spoiled one person being in this. I apologize. We didn't put a spoiler on it, but apparently, according to IMDb, somebody will be on that I wasn't supposed to say.
It'll be fine.
Nope, somebody, the spoiler police
Zane's already angrily typing.
Even though he's like the first one to watch it at 2 a.m. He's like,
excuse me.
actually, you shouldn't have said that.
The best part about Zane watching anything is you get a 1:05 a.m. message in the group chat that says, Hawkeye episode 1 was great. Starting episode 2 now. And then it's Mountain Dew style.
He's like, have you guys seen this yet? No, we just woke up, dude. Like, come on.
You're one of like 500 people that actually stayed up to watch it. This psychopath. It's going to be there for the rest of the time. It was released on December 1st, 2021. I want to make sure I give credit as well to the writers of this. Forgive me. How am I missing this? Usually I have it like, it's like IMDb is weird right now. Why is, oh, here we go. Directed by Burt Birdie and Rhys Thomas. It was written by Tanner Bean, with Jonathan Igla being the head writer as well. Executive story editor was Katrina Matheson, and then Heather Quinn was also a staff writer. Hawkeye was obviously created by Don Heck, and Stanley getting another credit. Isaac, we talked about this last episode with Spider-Man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he just keeps rolling on the credits, man.
Can't do it. And obviously, this is interesting. And gosh, I don't know if I should say this one, but they're giving him credit. So I'm just going to go ahead and do it. So I'm going to say a spoiler. If you don't want to hear this next thing, this could potentially be a spoiler for this. So I'm going to just say skip ahead 15 seconds. They're also crediting Jack Kirby and Joe Simon for creating Captain America.
That's wild. That's an interesting,
That's very interesting. So, but forgive us. Usually we give spoiler reviews, but apparently me reading the IMDb thing today is just a lot of spoilers. Forgive me. I did not think it would be that big of a deal, but here we are. If you've never heard our show before, we want to make sure that you're familiar with our rating system and how we rate things here. So I'm going to go ahead and put the bumper for that right here.
Here on the Infinity Bros podcast, everything is ranked from a 0 to 6 point scale. 0 meaning horrible, and 6 meaning absolutely excellent. If all of the Infinity Bros rank something a 6, it gets an Infinity Step.
And then additionally, I've already spoiled one thing, I guess, but I want to make sure that everybody is familiar. We will spoil everything around episode 1 and 2. We will also talk, we have a thing called Little Bits we talked about on the show where we might talk about big bits. We will talk about rumors that are potentially surfacing online. They could be spoilers, they could not be. So it's not really a spoiler, but it is a little bit. But we want you to know that we are spoiling everything from episode 1 and 2 and crediting, and we've already done that already. So this is your final spoiler warning.
This is...
Prepare yourself.
An Infinity Bros.
Prepare yourself.
Spoiler. Warning.
I cannot believe that the credits gave us 2 spoilers, Jarret. That's wild.
That's off the chain. And it's crazy because the credits, and we've been talking about this ad nauseum, the credits have not given any due to David Aja, whose artwork they ripped off constantly throughout this series. The artist for the original comic run that this is based off of. They gave credit to Matt Fraction, not David Aja, and now they're giving credit to the writers of Captain America. Wild. Unprepared for this.
Well, and also with Aja, it's basically all the post credits.
Oh yeah,
right? And I guess not post credits, the end credits
and the intro,
and this intro. Is Hawkeye.
Yeah,
like wild, just wild.
Yeah,
it's really fascinating. It has been fascinating. So we talked about our rating system. I want to start with the person that needs to start us all off on this is Jarret Curtis, who is our biggest Hawkeye fan. I think maybe the best Hawkeye fan we've ever had on this podcast outside of Justin Musso. Jarret, I want you to go ahead and rate 2 things for us. Rate episode 1 and episode 2. And you can kind of lump them together for your thoughts so far through the series, but give us your rating of episodes 1 and 2.
Sure. I mean, it's got to be a 6 out of 6 for both of them. We talk about how they adapt comic books to TV shows and movies. And I wasn't sure how they were going to do this one because it does a lot of things very well in the comics. And I think they did all the same beats in a very different way, and it worked for the MCU. Because if you were to take the comics and carbon copy it into the TV show, it would have fallen flat on its face. Not because it's not a fantastic run, but because it doesn't work in the scope of the MCU that they've built. I was wondering how they were going to do this, and everything they've shown me thus far has paid off. The first episode was a little slow, but I was still here for the whole thing. The fact that they took some of these characters and flipped them and spun them in a different way, and I think they're going to okie doke us down the line with a couple different characters from the comics. I am genuinely excited. I did not expect to be surprised by this series, but here I am. Fantastic. 6 out of 6.
I'll go next, Isaac. I also am going to give this a 6 out of 6. I was telling you guys pre-show, I'm going to be very interested to see what nitpicks people have with this show, because through 2 episodes, my wife and I were absolutely rolling, like slapping our knees, laughing so hard at 6 to 8 of these jokes. This is such a great casting of Haley Steinfeld. It's so clear that she will carry the MCU in this position moving forward. If they do make the choice to pivot from Jeremy Renner at the end of this, I not only welcome it, I think it's the best exit of any of the Avengers personally already, just by her 2-episode portrayal. And I've read the Matt Fraction Hawkeye run. Jarret obviously recommended it, and I bought it right afterwards. But I really know little about this character past that. I cannot wait to dive into this character. We got a lot of episodes to talk about, so we'll talk more about that, but her portrayal is great. Jeremy Renner has great comedic chops. In the movie Tag, that is his best acting work in regards to comedy outside of anything he's done in the MCU. And this felt like Tag combined with the Avengers. That's what this felt like. That style of comedy. And I just really think this is great. I echo a lot of what you're saying, Jarret. I cannot believe how much Matt Fraction and Aja's run have impacted this show. I'm floored. I'm really floored at, like, it feels almost, it's the most beat for beat comic to TV show so far. And you're right, Jarret. Age of Ultron really did mess up the character of Hawkeye, and people were upset about it at the time. And this feels like Kevin Feige kind of trying to rewrite that and apologize for that and look back at a mistake and say, let me fix this error. I really got to give props to this. This is a huge delight. I was not like over the moon excited to watch this, to be frank. It was like, oh, I'll watch it Wednesday evening. And I walked away just absolutely blown away. Was on the edge of my seat at the end of the episode too. I think the LARP scene, I know Isaac's gonna have a lot to say about that scene. The LARP scene is one of the best scenes so far in all of the MCU TV shows that we've had. But I as well will give both episodes a 6 out of 6. And I am so pumped for next Wednesday. Cannot wait. It will be very, 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 very long week. Isaac.
Yeah, so coming into this, I mean, I was really excited about it. Jarret, I mean, you are the one that also turned me on to the Matt Fraction run. I started reading that, and I did not put it down. I read the whole Matt Fraction, like, Hawkeye run in one night because it is fantastic. And I'm not even really a big Hawkeye fan, but that comic run is one of the best ones I've ever read in my entire life. So if you have not read it, make sure you go check that out. Marvel Unlimited has a great deal. You can just read a ton of different comics for, like, I think it's like $10 a month. So and
they usually have a Black Friday deal or a Cyber Monday deal, which is happening right now.
Yeah, or Comixology. Make sure you do that so you can read that run. It's amazing. And like Jarret said, every single thing they've done as far as promotional, stuff for this show looks exactly like David Aja's art, which is incredible. It is a travesty that he's not getting, credited or, compensated for this. But man, and it is one of the, it's one of the most iconic, covers and like the art style itself too, like that I've read. It sticks out. Like, it's not your typical comic book art that you read on a daily basis. So, I mean, I love that they are going beat for this. Like, the intro, fantastic, like, just amazing. 6 out of 6 both of these episodes. Infinity Snap for both of these episodes 1 and 2. I think this is the best intro we've gotten for an MCU show so far. And I did enjoy WandaVision's. Like, I know Max obviously has talked a lot about how he did not enjoy those first few episodes of WandaVision, but I think those first few WandaVision episodes are awesome. But I think these episodes are better. They do such a great job at setting up this show and setting up Kate Bishop's character. Like, I love everything about it. And they do take some different directions just because they're in the MCU. It's a different universe. Like, they have to kind of adapt the storyline at where they are in the story. But I mean, you mentioned it, Max. I think this is Jeremy Renner is going to be done as Hawkeye at the end of this, and Kate Bishop is going to be Hawkeye, and they're both Hawkeye. That's kind of like the famous thing in the comics. They're both Hawkeye. But she is going to be like Hawkeye moving forward. I think Jeremy Renner is going to like possibly be done in the MCU. Like, his character arc, like, he's tired of being Hawkeye. He just wants to like chill with his family. Like, that's just, I'm assuming that's what we're going to get more of this show, because this first episode he's hanging out with his family, like trying to spend family time with them. He doesn't really want to get involved in all this stuff, but he sees the Ronin suit and he's like, oh crap, that's bad news. I got to go fix that. So yeah, I think this show is going to be the best MCU show out of all of them. I'm already expecting it to be my number one MCU show. I loved Loki. That's my number one as of right now, but it is going to be overtaken quickly, I think. And
yeah, see, I'm not ready to give this more than Loki right now. And again, we got to talk about the show itself. We can debate which is better down the
right, and it's the first 2 episodes, so I'm not like there yet. I'm not going to say it's the best show ever, because we literally haven't seen whatever it is, 8 episodes of the show. So I think it will be, though, by the end of it, because
is it 8 or 6, Jarret? How many episodes is it?
I don't know. They've been like 9,
I believe
8 or
it's
9.
6, because Renner is
it 6?
Is credited for 6. So I'm going to assume it's 6.
Yeah, that would make sense then.
Yeah, it's going to be a short series. Jarret, did you catch the Easter egg from Daredevil?
Yes. Okay, so
let's talk about this. I want to, before we talk about anything else, this is so big, and this is the one show that could put Daredevil in it. So let's talk about it. Go ahead, Jarret.
Are you if we're talking about the same thing, are you talking about the reporter?
No.
Okay.
I'm talking about a different Easter egg.
You tell me your Easter egg, and then I'll do the reporter.
Oh, yes.
Episode
Here we
1,
go. Here we go.
Episode 1 of Hawkeye, the hotel where the party and underground auction take place is in season 3 of Daredevil, the home of Wilson Fisk. You can look it up. It is the address 455 Madison Avenue, New York.
Oh, yes.
I did not catch that.
I will have a link in the show notes. Go look at it. No lie.
I've actually got one when Jarret gets done with his too, but it's not really in the episode, but keep going.
It's too on the nose. I feel like they're totally teasing Wilson Fisk in this series. He has to be in it. I know he's not credited on IMDb, thank God, but I really feel like he's going to be in it. There have been little bits and rumors that he was going to be in this show and show up at some point. I think he has to show up, just given the context of
they've been talking to. So my thing is, there's a reporter that is seen with he's the guy who tells him that the Ronin suit's been, out doing this stuff and blames everything on Ronin. He's in a ton of stuff, including Daredevil. He's also in Amazing Spider-Man 2 and a bunch of other stuff. So that's the connection, I thought. And then obviously, we're getting deep into episode 2 spoiler territories, right? But we see Echo at the end of that. Echo is not a Hawkeye villain.
No.
She has ties to Hawkeye via Ronin, but that is 100% a Daredevil character through and through.
Yes. 100%.
And so, it's feasible. It's very feasible.
Okay, and then leading off of that, I think I actually retweeted it on the Infinity Bros Twitter account, but I saw this tweet of this person who sounded like they had some inside information that Wilson Fisk is going to be in episode 5 of Hawkeye. Now, obviously, that's not confirmed, but this person was talking as if it was fact. So, we see Wilson Fisk in episode 5, and it better be Vincent D'Onofrio. If it isn't, that would be just awful.
No, it will. And we've heard the Matt Murdock rumors.
Yeah, we've heard them flying around like this. Oh man, if this happens, I am just so pumped that we're finally getting all of this wrapped together into the MCU.
Pop quiz, Isaac or Max, you guys can answer this. Before Hawkeye, what was Matt Fraction and David Aja's famous run?
Haven't a clue.
Isaac?
Well, I mean, I think I mentioned before that I've seen that they worked on Iron Fist.
They did the Immortal Iron Fist.
Okay, all right.
And so if this is wildly successful, and I don't think we'll see Matt Fraction, David Aja's Iron Fist anytime soon, but I think if this is successful, we can see Iron Fist being brought back in, hopefully Punisher. I mean, the casting on those, people caught heat for especially Iron Fist, but I loved it, man. I love the Netflix series. I thought they were fantastic.
Yeah.
Especially Daredevil. Man, they have to bring Daredevil back.
Yes.
Yeah, and we'll close this book on this because if you're listening, you want to hear more about this show and talk about it. So all I'll say with that, and I think to close it on that, is we all agree that bringing at least the Defenders, maybe not all those characters and actors specifically back, but the Daredevil and the Luke Cage and,
Vincent D'Onofrio
Wilson Fisk,
yeah,
that's going to be a win. That's going to be a win for this
Absolutely.
series. It's going to be a win for the MCU, and we're just hoping that happens. So let's talk about episode 1 first. Episode 1 starts during the Battle of New York in 2012. We meet a young Kate Bishop. We meet her father, and she witnesses Clint Barton battling the Chitauri and immediately aspires to become a hero. She watches his iconic moment where he jumps off, turns around, fires the arrow up, swings down, and probably breaks his back going into a room. And Jarret, did you love going back to 2012 with this character?
it was so great. So two things about this scene. One is, and I don't know why, nerds suck. Gatekeeping nerds are the worst, but people are upset that one of the Russo daughters plays that young Kate Bishop.
Okay, I'll interject.
Yeah.
I think the young Kate Bishop is fine. I think the Russo daughter that plays Hawkeye's daughter is not doing a good job.
Yeah.
If I was to
Hawkeye's-
give
yeah.
any blemish on the show right now, it is her. Her acting is very poor.
People are
and
wildly upset about that. The other thing
Yeah.
that I did like, though,
I would echo that. I think it's bad.
so the literal opening scene of the comic book is him saying, I know this looks bad, and he's firing that arrow up and swinging and crashing. And that's the scene that they pulled off in Avengers, and I loved it then, and I love it even better this time around, because it gives us that nice connection between him and Kate. And like the fact that this whole thing happened in New York, I was wondering how they were going to tie them together. That's the perfect way to do it. That's absolutely phenomenal.
It was. And like, I personally, when we saw all of those different scenes from different parts of the MCU and in Avengers Endgame from a different perspective, I thought that was fantastic. I love going back and seeing those scenes from a different perspective. Like we see Kate's perspective of what's happening in New York at the time. We see like a different camera angle of Hawkeye doing that and falling from the sky. Like that, I thought that was just fantastic callback. I love when they do stuff like that.
And this is what I've said the MCU needs to do in the context of all these big stories. You need to continue to talk about other people's perspectives from these stories. It makes going back to the first Avengers now have more depth. When he fires that arrow that hits that Chitauri and it blows that Chitauri up, that scene will now carry more weight moving forward.
Oh, yeah.
Because we know that Kate Bishop is going to be watching that from another angle. And it's the similar thing to Spider-Man when in in the first Spider-Man movie, when it's his clip of him in Civil War and it's him flipping in and saying, "Sup everybody." Like that's the kind of stuff that the MCU can always pull back on and always have success with, because that's what world building does.
And when we get to see the first Avengers, when they're all done fighting the Chitauri and they're going down like the elevator and stuff like that in Endgame, like that. Oh, I love that scene.
Yeah,
so
it's great.
stinking good.
It's great. And I'll get to this, Jared. You spoke on it, but I'll talk a little more in detail now about this. Barton spending time with his children was great, and going to the musical, which I think we all loved. Everybody loved the music.
It was so funny when he turned off his hearing aid. Oh, so great.
And he's like,
I wanna
yeah,
talk about
I
that.
wasn't there.
We need to talk about that in just a second. We're going to talk about that. That's a big thing. We'll talk about that in a second. But I just want to go back and close the book on the actor, Jarret. I am not somebody that thinks that the show is completely ruined because of her poor acting. I will say it could hurt down the line, though, in an emotional scene, because it's clear that they're trying to have her be the weight carrying kid of the three kids in terms of emotional stakes. And I think that is a pickle for this show, that if I can't believe her in episode 4 when things get dire, or episode 5, that's going to be hard. That's a nitpick, but it's a reality that this show will have to balance.
There's some baggage to this that inverses everything we know about the roles of Kate and Clint in the comic book. In the comic book, Clint is a mess. Like, he is the most unhinged, life not together version of a human being that can possibly exist. And Kate is like, in fact, the comic says it like, Kate is perfect. She's got it all together. She knows what she's doing. I feel like they sort of flipped this on its head a little bit, where like Clint feels like the more responsible, like trying to do the right thing. And Kate is just like met her hero and doesn't know how to hold herself together.
She's just flying by the seat of her pants type of thing.
And I think that was a brilliant, brilliant choice.
Absolutely.
Because every single young Avenger that's been inserted up to this point has just such a strong, they're just very confident in themselves. And to be frank, some of these characters need to lack some confidence, because that's how you have character development. And that's how they feel more relatable. I just think I'm really, really excited to see her dabble with other people, because she's going to be like over the moon to meet random people, much less the Avengers.
She's like the appetizer of like what we're going to get, I think, in Miss Marvel, where like Miss Marvel is the writes the fan fiction.
Exactly.
Is like, but she is like halfway between that and the Young Avengers that we've seen thus far, I think.
I like that they flipped the arcs in that context.
Fantastic.
I think it was a good choice. I think that took a lot of guts to do it these days, because the big demand right now in comic book movies is more female presence. And so I do think there are going to be some people that look at this and go, oh, how come Kate Bishop doesn't have it all together in this context, And I think that it's actually a very, very smart, strong move. And I am just drawn to her now. I am cheering her on from the get-go, from 5 minutes into this show, watching her watch Clint. I'm in. I'm like, I want her to win.
My first introduction to Haley Steinfeld is in the god-awful Pitch Perfect 2. That movie is horrible. The acting, the writing in it is horrible. I was like, this girl's never going to get a career in acting. And then like continue to impress, obviously. Holy cow, is she going to carry forward in the MCU? She's killing it with this. I was 100% wrong, and I will eat my words till the end of time. She's doing phenomenal.
You did say in earlier episodes you were worried about her, so make sure you check those out. So Jarret, let's talk about this revelation. Isaac, you talked about it. We find out he's already deaf. We find that out. Like, there's no moment where it happens. This was the question mark coming into the show that a lot of people had, was, when is he going to lose his hearing? And the explanation for him losing his hearing was not only brilliant, but another quick sidestep that just allows the story to move along. I couldn't believe how brilliant it was. It was so fun. I laughed out loud. I was like, that's perfect. Yep. That's perfect writing. Great job. Yeah. Jarret, go ahead.
They do. And this is one of the things I loved about the run to begin with. They talk about accessibility, especially if, okay, I'm going to take two minutes and just do this for you guys. Buy this comic book. I don't care if you like superheroes or not. If you're listening to this podcast and interested in this stuff in any way, shape, or form, buy this comic. Go check out Aja's Scarlet Witch covers and his Karnak covers to see if you like this art style. But like, buy these comics. Anyways, issue 19 is all about Clint being deaf. We don't see words. A lot of the normal comic book stuff is thrown out the window, and they do a good job talking about sort of how he interacts with this disability that he has, and how it doesn't make him any less a hero. They sort of do this, and I think they're going to do it more and more through the run, or through the episodes, but they do this so phenomenally. And then the fact that they got Alakwa Cox, I don't know how to say her name. I don't know how her name's pronounced.
We went over that.
Yeah. The fact that they got a deaf native actress who has a prosthetic, and that they're talking about Clint being deaf, they could have easily skirted that, and I think nobody would really have bat an eye except for maybe a few comic fans like myself. But the fact that they're choosing to include this, and not only that, but give proper representation in the form of Echo, is the casting there is so good. Oh, and the explanation for it, like you said, perfect. Keep it short.
Let's save the Echo talk for down the line. We got a lot to talk about. We got to get through it quick because we're trying to keep this episode a little shorter. We could talk for 3 hours on this, guys. That's the reality of our podcast here. Bishop attends the charity auction after breaking the bell at her school, firing arrows. Another hilarious scene, great character development. I love this character. I cannot stress how much I've loved how they have written her in.
Did you notice the name of the clock tower?
No, I did not.
It is Stane Clock Tower in honor of Obadiah Stane.
Oh my gosh.
Nice.
Dude, they know what they're doing.
They
Wow.
do. This is just like, I mean, this is why you love Marvel stuff, right?
It's so good.
She obviously meets back with her mother and learns that her mother's engaged to Jack. And then underneath the gala, she stumbles onto a black market auction and she sees things from the remains of the Avengers compound from New York in the Battle of Endgame. And we get to see Ronan's sword and Ronan's suit. And we get to see Jack, her potential new father-in-law, or stepfather, excuse me, try to buy this stuff. And Jarret, tell us your thoughts out the gate on this. And then Isaac, I want to hear, what did you think about the battle that she had in a very clumsy battle, but still showcasing her moves? So Jarret, go ahead first.
Do we want to talk about who Jack Duquesne is? Like from the
We can
comic
talk
book
about that. Go
perspective.
for it.
Is
Yeah,
that
let's go for it.
spoilers
Let's go
or
for it.
okay? Jack Duquesne is the swordsman. Like he is a villain in the comic books, and his whole thing is swords, right? And his ties to Hawkeye are deep. In fact, he's the reason Hawkeye is Hawkeye. Prominent character in the comics from the Fraction run all the way through, has a lot of interaction with Kate Bishop. The fact that they made him this role is such a good subversion of my expectations. I knew the Swordmaster would be in this. I did not know how they were going to do it. And the fact that they put it into this scene so early and like constantly talk about his obsession with swords and sabers and his collection of Ronin sword, fantastic. This whole scene was unbelievably good.
Before we get to Isaac, do you think, Jarret, there's a chance that we find out that he is related in some capacity in the context of history to Hawkeye? Jeremy Renner's Hawkeye, excuse me.
I think no. As much as I love the original story of how Hawkeye became Hawkeye, they've never touched on his brother. They've never touched on his upbringing. And it would be a little weird if it was like, oh, surprise, this is the guy who raised me and we're all carnies and this is how I got my abilities. Right? Like,
Yeah.
As much as I love that, I don't think it plays here. I hope they have some connection, but I don't think it'll look the same as it does in the comics.
Isaac, what do you think of this battle?
I mean, I thought the battle was sweet, and like you said, it is, it's not like Kate Bishop has it all together and she's super succinct and, knows exactly what to do. She kind of like grabs the suit, puts it on. She's like, I got to do something, but I don't know what it is. So she just like starts kind of making stuff up, putting stuff together. And it's lucky that it is the Russian, mafia that she's fighting. Because if there were some like martial artists and stuff in there, she probably wouldn't have made it out as well as she did. So, but yeah, I thought it was a perfect for, like you mentioned before, Matt, character development. Like she still is able to take these guys out and get out of there and, find Lucky, the pizza dog, which is one of the best parts of the show so far. But yeah, like I thought it was like perfect. Like we need to see some of this Kate Bishop like learning. Like she already is a really good martial artist and archer and all this stuff. And we do see that, but we also need to see her like, hey, she still has a lot of stuff to learn. And I thought that was like a perfect intro. But the fight scene itself was sweet. And like the fact that she puts on the Ronin stuff and all the Russian mob guys know who she is like, whoa, or Ronin, who Ronin is. That was a really cool connection. I thought that was like, yeah, this is gonna be good.
We get our introduction to the Tracksuit Mafia members, and some beat her up, some she beats up. It's kind of a mix of both. I really enjoy the portrayal of this, Jarret. I know you're just foaming at the mouth over these guys being in this
so
show right
good.
now. They just like represent them perfectly. They're thugs at best, but comical. Even just like when Hawkeye later at her house throws the fire back at the
Oh, so good.
cocktail back
Perfect.
at them. Just like, it's so funny. They're just so goofy. She escapes to her apartment rescuing a stray dog that is Lucky, the pizza dog, which is one of Jarrett's favorite characters and one of the characters I've been looking forward to most to seeing in this show. And Bishop discovers that Armand has been murdered in his home after before she gets back to her house with Hawkeye. And then as she's cornered by the Tracksuit Mafia members, Barton shows up saving her and goes, wait, you're a kid?
Yeah.
and it cuts the first
It's
episode.
so
Thank
good.
you, God, they gave us the first 2 episodes this week.
Yeah, that would have
been a very difficult cliffhanger.
Yeah, that would have been tough wait.
Yeah. Bishop takes Barton back to her apartment, and she's attacked by the tracksuit mafia. And Jarret, the apartment is like straight from the comic. Again,
Yeah,
it's uncanny how much it's like this comic.
it's exact. And I did not think they were going to adapt some of this stuff. I thought like we might get some version of the tracksuit mafia. The fact that they say "bro" like
Yes.
5 times
Give it
is
to
so
me.
good.
Give it to
Exactly.
me.
The apartment is
Ugh.
so spot on. Like they have the coffee pot from the famous "Ah Coffee No." Like
Yep. It's everything.
the her holding the pizza up to her head when she
Yep.
gets bumped is an exact rip from the panels. Like everything was so good. Also, I think I said Swordmaster because I have Taskmaster on the brain. It's Swordsman. I know that before Zane types at me in the comments.
Yeah. No, you can send us an email to the Infinity Bros.
Please,
podcast
send me hate
@gmail.com. We will delete it. The other thing that I didn't talk about earlier was Clint sees on the toilet a Thanos was right inscription.
And also
on that.
is sipping a mug. I believe it's at the beginning of episode 2.
Yep,
Yeah.
I was just about to say that. Then later he's sipping a Thanos was right mug. So not only in our universe is there a group of people that believes this, but there's also a group of people in
Okay, how wild is it that like a meme in the real universe has made it into the MCU? Like that is mind-blowing. I love that.
talk about fan service at its best.
So great.
There was an interesting take too that I think for instance, in the context of the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, somebody made a really great point. They said being an Avenger is interesting, but again, the MCU really does some interesting political dialogue. And in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, we remember the scene where Sam is asking for a loan, and the loan officer asks for a selfie with him,
Yeah.
but won't give him the loan. Then we see in Hawkeye episode 1, Jeremy Renner's Hawkeye is out with his family and he gets his meal paid for and then gets asked for a selfie. It's just interesting, the dichotomy there. I don't know if Marvel necessarily meant to make that statement there, but it was a very just in the context of how people view things in the United States right now, a very interesting thing. Forgive me if I'm making it political to you. I just saw that was from Straw Hat, and I thought that was a very interesting.
And the Thanos is right
feedback.
feels very like, I hate to put this out there, but like QAnon, anti-vax.
Exactly.
That's
It
something
really-
people, yeah.
it does feel like some of this stuff just is political commentary. Wherever you stand on the subject, I'm not judging you or trying to tell you what to think. I'm just making a point that this show really is making political dialogue and commentary. And if you're into that or really against it, that could affect your viewing of this. And I thought that was just another layer, that the Avengers get asked for selfies, but they can't get paid. It's just interesting how that works. They can get their meals paid for,
Right.
but they literally can't get paid. The pair is forced to evacuate, leaving the Ronin suit behind. And after relocating to the apartment of Bishop's aunt, Barton sends his kids back home and his crappy daughter who can't act to save her life. She's so bad, guys. I'm telling you, like, she could make this show down the line not be in the context of a big moment where she's got to land a line. If she doesn't, it's going to hurt this show. It's my only fear right now of this show. It really
honestly
is.
Like it didn't distract me that much. Like it wasn't great, but it wasn't like so bad that I was like, oh my gosh, I don't like her as an actress or anything like that. So I don't know. For me, I didn't think it was that bad.
That's fine. I'm making a point of it's a threat to this show, and it's like it was a pure nepotism moment in the Hawkeye run, or excuse me, in the Endgame moment. Forgive me, but it just feels right now like, oh, that they maybe should have taken more time to cast an actress. They maybe should have thought that through a little more, I thought. Going back to my notes, forgive me.
While you're talking about that, I'd like to. They do that interesting thing, and you talked about it with the selfie and all this. In the comics, Clint is trying to get recognized as a superhero. He's constantly mistaken for Iron Fist. Like he is just striving for some sort of recognition as an Avenger. In the comic or in the TV show, I feel like they inverse that, which works so well with him as Ronin in the guilt that he feels from being Ronin and also like everything that happened with Natasha, that he like doesn't see himself as a hero. In fact, we talk about this later when they do the LARP scene. Like, he doesn't see himself as being inspiring, and Kate touches on it time and time again. He doesn't realize the impact that he has.
Yeah, true.
And I think that'll be an interesting way to go about this, because it's clear, too, that they're really lean. You have got to watch Black Widow to really get this, to have this show have more weight. And so,
watch past the credits of Black Widow.
Oh, yeah, totally. Well, the other thing is, I like to watch the Legends thing. So if you're not familiar with Legends, on the Disney Plus app, you can watch these 6 to 10 minute clips where they will recap individual characters and their journey of how they got to whatever you're about to watch. So they did this like even for Shang Chi, where like the 10 rings, they had one for the 10 rings, and it's just a really, really great thing for if you're like my wife, for example. She likes the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but she doesn't keep track of everything like I do. So she forgets, and so we pop that in. She goes, "Oh yeah, that did happen. You're right." That just helps her jog her memory and allows you as an audience person to really get more flavor for this. And I thought watching the Hawkeye Legends clip was very interesting, Jarret and Isaac. Here are the things that were noted in that clip. They showed many clips from Black Widow.
Really?
Many clips. 5 different clips from Black Widow. They showed the scene where Yelena Pugh's character is talking with her, and there's the shots on the wall. They talked about Budapest 3 different times from Avengers and Black Widow. They showed the post-credit scene. They showed the scene where he talks with Wanda, and they showed like that whole scene with Wanda, where he's talking to her on the floating rock. There was just a lot of interesting stuff that they're like, "Hey, we want you to remember this about this character because it's going to pay off here." And so I just think the Natasha Romanoff storyline, this is where we're really going to see her death really pay dividends, is in this show. And it's clear he's remorseful for her death. He clearly feels it is his fault still. And I cannot wait for Florence Pugh to engage him on the subject. I cannot wait.
Dude, I have so much to unpack with this. Yeah, I think it's interesting, and we'll talk too about the MacGuffin in this, at least from the beginning, was the Ronin suit, right? And like his history as Ronin and all this. I think there's going to be some version of the tape. In the Hawkeye run, there's a tape that shows Clint murdering a bunch of people, and the MacGuffin in that comic is they have to try to find the tape before the public releases it. I think we're going to see some version of that where Clint is in the Ronin suit murdering a bunch of people, maybe tied to Budapest. And part of the MacGuffin of this is like Clint cannot let that get out. And I think it has something to do with Natasha and the Black Widows. And somebody pointed out too, Echo is seen wearing all black leather in a red room. I don't think she's a Black Widow, but it's not out of the realm of possibility.
That is exactly what I thought too, Jarret. So let's not jump the gun. We got to.
I know. I'm sorry, but you asked me, and I had to answer.
No, I want to talk about Echo last because Jarret, you're stealing a talking point from me, dude.
I have
and we
to.
got it. This is the thing I've been waiting to talk to Isaac about because at Friendsgiving he really referenced this. We get the live action role playing event.
Oh my gosh,
and
so good.
To say that the Marvel Cinematic Universe knows its audience well is an understatement, because there are so many mouth breathers that love LARPing, that love the MCU. And we get this. And Isaac, just take it away. What were your thoughts on this scene? I don't want to talk about it. I want you to talk about it.
Okay. So first of all, we get the sticker reference in, he goes to retrieve the Ronin suit. It's not there. He has 0 leads at that time, and it's crawling with, PD, fire department, all that stuff. So he's like, all right, I got to get out of here. He sees the sticker. That's basically like NY LARPing or something like that. It says NY LARPing, LARP or something like that. And he's like, oh, well, I don't know. So he looks it up, finds out where it is. He goes to the park. It's live action role playing, which for those of you who don't know, it's literally people dressing up, getting foam swords. They actually live action role play. Like, you've heard of Dungeons and Dragons. This is live action. They're playing it out in real time. And I've actually done it like once before, It's hilarious, it's fun, and it is wild. So this whole time, like, I saw that and I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. They made a little like side reference to it. He goes to the park and we see all these people like fighting in their armor and their like foam swords and axes and stuff like that. And I just started rolling and I just laughed through this whole scene. It is fantastic. Like, Jeremy Renner plays this scene perfectly. He goes in as literally a normal guy who has no idea what LARPing is, which is, I would guess, a good majority of the public probably. Goes in and he's like, what is going on here? Like, this is bizarre. This is crazy. And they make him do the live action role playing to get to this guy who's got the Ronin suit. And he's like, fine, let's do it. Let's get it over with. He goes in and he's like, got all this obvious like martial arts and sword experience. So like he goes in, I'm sure thinking like, this is a piece of cake, like whatever, I'll just go get the suit. And the first scene you get is him walking through like 6 or 7 guys who are just like beating on him with these swords, and he's just like, what is happening right now? It was, oh my gosh. Jarret, I know you're like somewhat experienced with this, so what were your thoughts on the whole LARPing? I just thought it was hilarious. Like,
I've never done LARPing, but I like this whole thing just like,
oh my gosh.
because like this is how quote unquote normal people view comic book
exactly
fans.
Yeah, that's how it is. Like,
but like people love this stuff, and like, who am I to say that, you know what I mean? I don't know. I would probably try this if I had friends who did LARPing. And they brought in one of my favorite comic book characters of all time, is the guy who stole the suit, Gil. And I'm like, yes, so good. Gil is phenomenal, and the fact that they brought him in at all is the biggest surprise of this entire series. My favorite thing, Gil constantly calls him Hawkeye, not Hawkeye, Hawk
yes.
Guy.
Hawkeye.
And he does it in this too. It's subtle, but if you pay attention, oh, I love it. It's so good.
Yep. And we know that he's going to be probably significant down the line, because they had more than just an interaction. Like, it was like,
yeah, they
shook hands. They interchanged like names and stuff like that. Clint literally says, call me Clint. Like, he's going to be in this show down the line. Like, he's going to play a part in it somehow. But man,
also, yeah, go ahead.
I like the whole LARPing bit was hilarious. Like, just so funny. And that was much more severe or extreme LARPing than I've done before. I literally, when I did it, I had a foam sword and we just went and like beat the crap out of each other in the park is what it came down to.
If you guys enjoyed this and you have Disney Plus, go check out Jeff Goldblum. What is it? Jeff Goldblum Explains
the World According to Jeff Goldblum.
Oh yeah, The World According to Jeff. And go check out the LARPing episode,
because it's
fantastic.
so
really okay. Wow, there you go.
It's fantastic.
No. We gotta keep going here. Okay. After challenging Duquesne to a fencing duel, Jarret, you talked about this earlier. You keep talking.
I know. I'm sorry.
Points I'm bringing up here, Jarret. You're killing me here. She challenges him and he lets her beat him. It's clear and obvious he's the man until the very end, when he basically makes her lose the sword unwillingly with just a flick of the wrist. I mean, you had to be foaming at the mouth. I mean, how sweaty were you over this?
The moment they said, I don't think we find out Jack's name right away. I think we find out Armand Duquesne first. And I'm like,
correct, yes.
Did they make this guy swordsman? I was like, he can't be. And then Jack shows up and I'm like, oh my gosh. And then this scene was so good because Kate is a good swordsman. Like, it's talked about throughout the comics. And one of her idols was the swordsman. And so the fact that they brought that relationship or any form of that into this, and I'm like, oh, it was so good, man.
Yeah,
Such a good way to do it.
She's for sure going to be the one that has to fight him.
Yeah. And
I'm okay with that. I think that's great. I think the Echo tension is going to be more Hawkeye, and obviously the Florence Pugh tension will be more Hawkeye as well.
Right.
I guess I'm trying to mix it up because I think they're both Hawkeye, so I'm like Jeremy Hawkeye and Haley Steinfeld Hawkeye. That's how I'm trying to differentiate. And then Hawkeye allows himself to get captured by Tracksuit Mafia, and he
Oh my gosh. That was a great scene.
Kate Bishop folded.
It's so good.
So yeah, like that's what you're talking about with the roles reverse though. Like in the
so
comics, that would have been exact opposite roles reverse.
It would have been
Like,
Clint.
like yeah, Clint would have just fell through
Yeah.
the scene like, oh crap, like oh man, ugh, would have been still. It was perfect though.
But I think I think the rule that the MCU is working with, which I can respect and agree with, is the original 6 are bigger than everything else. And it looks like even the Spider-Man No Way Home promos, where it appears that the Statue of Liberty now is holding Captain America's shield. If you're one of those 6, you're not buying your meal. It doesn't matter who the next person in line is. That's the original 6. That's who saved the day. And I think they to not deviate from that rule, they have to make Hawkeye still very, very not because he's just a guy, which is what makes Fractions run so amazing, Jarret.
Right.
But he has to be still somewhat skilled and unbeatable, maybe is the phrase I'm looking for.
Yeah.
And so this is where it's really just a great tension with her, Isaac. This is the funniest scene of the whole 2 shows. We haven't even talked really much about Lucky, and we're not really going to get to, I think. But aside from her and aside from Lucky, this is the stuff I'm here for. If this is the tension of these 2 just falling down and trying to get through fights and somehow winning, I'm all in.
The
I am
dialogue
all
with
in.
him and the tracksuit guy who's like getting so upset
oh my
about
gosh,
the warehouse.
that was amazing.
I was dude, that was so good.
Oh my gosh.
When he's like,
Who's your
he's being
boss?
sarcastic.
Who's your boss?
Yeah.
Yeah, who's your boss? And he takes it off and he's like, no, are you the boss?
I mean, the literal version of the tracksuit mafia that we're getting in the show is
they're so
again,
good.
it's so perfect. Like they're hilarious in the comics and they are translating very well to the live screen. Like I cannot wait to see more of these guys.
All right, now Jarret, let's talk about Maya Lopez, who's portrayed by Aluka Cox. She's known as Echo. She's a deaf Native American leader of the Tracksuit Mafia, in the show at least, who can perfectly imitate others' movements. Can you talk about her character to those that are not familiar with her and are tuning in to find more insight about her? What can you tell us about her? And obviously, we found out she's getting a show down the line anyway in Disney Plus, which is a great move in both of our opinion, but tell our audience why.
So she's tied into so much, the character that is. She is a Daredevil villain. She was raised by Wilson Fisk, of all people. She has connections to Ronin. She actually was Ronin before, or I can't remember how the timeline goes, but she was Ronin for a time. She also is in a major Moon Knight run, probably the worst Moon Knight run, but she has ties to Moon Knight as well. Like, with everything that they're setting up in the MCU, this is perfect. This is a perfect connection, perfect character, perfect casting. And
Well, she was sent by Kingpin originally. And then, like, to get back to what we talked about at the beginning, it feels like he's going to be in it.
that is Wilson Fisk's adopted daughter, like 100%.
Exactly.
Yeah. And they obviously do like sort of a Red Room thing. I don't know if that's coincidence. I don't want to get too Mephisto on this, but it does feel like maybe a connection to that.
Wait, you said Mephisto. Is she going to be Mephisto's daughter?
Yeah,
in
she's
this?
Mephisto, confirmed.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Gotcha.
But no, like obviously I'm jazzed for the character just out the gate. But the fact that they took the time to find I believe she's Menominee, and I can't remember what her other tribal affiliation is, but she's an indigenous actress. She is actually deaf, which Marvel's been doing this. Obviously, they did it with Eternals. Fantastic. And she has a prosthetic leg. Like, they're doing a lot to say that representation matters to them going forward. Something that they have not always done great at, but they've continued to improve and improve. Like, oh my gosh. I tweeted about this, and I'm going to stand by this 100%. This is the hill that I will die on.
Jarret, real quick, just for clarification on
Yes.
those that are wondering, she is Menominee and Mohican Nation.
That's right. I knew she was Menominee. I
From
couldn't remember what the
Keshena,
other one was.
Wisconsin.
Kashina.
Kashina, forgive me.
Yes. So I think she is going to be a household name. And I don't know if that's my personal bias, but I am excited to see what she does. Because in the 2 minutes that, maybe not even that we got, like, she owned the scene. Like, you could tell that this is somebody that they do not want to be messing with. and she hasn't done anything yet. So
Yeah,
yeah,
she feels
I'm
very sinister and very bigger than life, and feels like a threat to everybody involved in this show. And the Tracksuit Mafia, although they are funny and comical and sheepish and goofy, sheepish maybe not the word, clumsy and goofy, she is intimidating, powerful, strong. And Echo as a character is a great comic book character, but not a well-known character. And that's the choice they're making here, Jarret, with some of these characters. They're going with Black Captain America. They're going with Echo. They're going with Miss Marvel. They're going with some of these lesser-known characters, and they're kind of trying to propel them in hopes that probably one, for them to help those comic book runs that didn't make so much money that should have. But also, you nailed it, Jarret. I mean, Black Panther and Shang-Chi. I mean, people went bananas for these shows, especially if they had any ties culturally to the character. And so I'm with you, Jarret. Nobody out of our Infinity Bros group, you're the closest to native culture that we can get. And I have a very hard time wrapping my head around people of native descent not getting excited about this and having representation on the big screen.
obviously, I don't think we talked about reservation dogs much on here. We may have hit it in passing, but like that was a cultural phenomenon. Obviously, you have Alaqua Cox as Echo, and then we also have, and I'm totally blanking on her name, but the newest Predator movie is cast with an indigenous actress who's actually from the reservation that I live on. She's enrolled here. She didn't grow up here, but she is enrolled. And so the fact that like these native stories are becoming more and more forefront is important, right? Like this stuff matters. We saw the success of Black Panther. We saw the success of Shang-Chi. Like it's time that these minority-led projects get the spotlight. And I think her being an actual native actress playing a native part is important.
Let's talk about predictions moving forward and close this one out. We're at an hour, so I want to make sure we honor everybody's time. Percentage chances, let's talk about them. Wilson Fisk, percentage chance he shows up, Isaac.
I mean, with all the stuff we've been hearing, I would find it hard to believe that he doesn't get referenced at least, and he's got it. He's got to be in it. I'd say like 75% chance he's in it.
Jarret.
I've been hurt before by WandaVision. I'm gonna say 50-50. As much as I like hope and wishful thinking and however many connections there are to this, we've been juked before and had the dumbest excuses made for it. I think they could do it again and just treat us like idiots for this.
Also, another note, Vincent D'Onofrio has been very outspoken about he wants to keep playing Kingpin. He actually retweeted that tweet that I referenced and said something kind of like, yeah, that would be awesome if Kingpin was in it. Like, he says stuff like that all the time, so it's not confirmation, but still, like,
yeah, I'm just gonna step in. The only reason I'm saying he's got to be in this is because of Matt Murdock's rumors with Spider-Man No Way Home.
Yeah,
it just feels like this is like them just like going, hey, you need to watch the shows to really get more out of the movies, and this is their way of saying that. And again, Jarret, anybody who's listened to our show before this episode knows how I feel about WandaVision. I just think I'm going to go 95%. I'm going to only keep the 5% because of how little I feel because of WandaVision. I'm only keeping 5% because of WandaVision. I just have a very strong inkling with Echo, with the Matt Murdock rumors, with the Easter eggs we've seen and heard, and with the Defenders are going to need probably some Avenger to be part of them. That's not Doctor Strange, so they can be straight level. Hawkeye feels like the shoe-in to me. She feels like the shoe-in to me. Haley Steinfeld's
we should call Jeremy Renner Hot Guy, and then Haley Steinfeld Hawkeye.
We should. Yeah. That's actually
Hawkeye.
Brilliant. That's actually brilliant.
Because you can hear the difference in podcast medium.
How will Florence Pugh show up in this, Isaac?
Oh boy, how? That's a great question. I think she's probably going to be a wild card in one of the later episodes as hunting down Jeremy Renner. I mean, we saw that she probably believes that he is the cause for Natasha's death in the Black Widow post-credit scene. So, I mean, I would assume that she's going to show up at some point trying to hunt him down in New York City. So that's all I've got. I would assume it'd be a later episode, but who knows?
Yeah, I think she's 100% in this. I think it's like an Act 3 thing. I think she comes in at the final hour and she's like the obstacle that's keeping them from whatever they need to do at the end.
IMDb is saying it's 4 episodes, those guys. Like, I mean, IMDb doesn't know everything, right? They're not the end all be all here, but like 4 episodes is a huge credit.
Yeah.
She's got to be in it more than this.
Yeah, if it's 6 episodes long, that would be next episode she's going to show up. So
she has to come at the worst possible time.
Yeah. And I mean, eventually, like, she's going to see that, Clint wasn't the reason that Natasha died. So she's going to, Clint is going to somehow convince her of that. So, I mean, she's going to be...
No, he is not. He's going to agree with her.
Well, yeah, but she's going to see...
I think Max is right.
She's going to... Yes, agreed. But she's going to see what actually happened. Like, and she's not going to keep trying to fight him after that.
I firmly disagree. I think this show is going to flirt with the idea of, once I'm done with this, put me down.
And you think
once
she
I'm
actually
done with
will?
Helping this girl, put me down. No, I don't think she will. But I'm saying that's going to be the tension with Clint, is the overwhelming guilt for Natasha's death and going back to his family.
I agree tension is going to be there, but there's got to be resolution before this show is done, because Jeremy Renner, I don't believe, is going to be in like further projects. Like
he'll be in something in the future.
I think he dies and comes back in not Secret or
Secret Invasion.
I want to say Secret Invasion. Yeah, thank you. I think he dies and comes back in Secret Invasion.
But
that's my tinfoil hat.
Yeah, Jarret, you're stealing another talking point. Thanks so much. They need him for that run. I'm saying they need him for. I think he's going to be a huge piece of Secret Invasion, because somebody in the Avengers has to be a Skrull.
Yeah,
somebody has to be a Skrull, and he's the only logical choice in the context of who we have left.
That opens up so much. Like, I don't know. Like,
I don't think
we're getting into the weeds. We gotta go through. We're getting into the weeds. I don't want to get too deep in the weeds. Final thing is, will Haley Steinfeld join the Avengers at the end of this as Hawkeye?
Yeah, I don't think the real Avengers. No, I think she's gonna end up joining the whatever. I mean, we've referenced the Young Avengers on multiple occasions. I think there's gonna be a group of like Young Avengers that are gonna form, as opposed to the Avengers. And I think she'll be maybe even be the head of that group. I don't know.
The Young Avengers / Champions roster at this point is getting out of hand. Like they've arguably added too many people to this. But
no, I'm in the camp, Jarret, that I think all the Avengers are going to get snatched up by Kang.
Yeah.
And it's going to be Loki having to lead this Young Avengers group.
Oh my gosh.
They're going to be like, and that's how you really work with this.
That would be sick.
That just really leads everything into it. It allows.
I'm completely down for that.
But it also allows guys. But it also allows guys like Anthony Mackie's Falcon / Captain America.
Cool me off. I got something
doing other stuff.
cooking
Go ahead,
here.
real quick. Go ahead.
Okay.
We got to close out after that.
Loki leads the Young Avengers for a time, disguised as I keep wanting to say Black Widow. Scarlet Witch. He's disguised as Scarlet Witch because obviously her 2 sons are on there. And the way that they find out that it's not actually Scarlet Witch is Clint kisses her and finds out that it's Loki and not. It is the wildest thing that happens. But I'm like, yeah, obviously I don't think they're gonna do that.
I can't wait for Tom Hiddleston to kiss Jeremy Renner on screen. It's gonna be great.
It's. I don't think that's gonna happen. But the pieces are there to connect all these things.
The way they were talking about Loki being non-binary.
Yeah.
In the paperwork. So, well, that is our recap of episodes 1 and 2 of Hawkeye. You can check that out on Disney Plus right now. It is available. And if you got to this point listening to what we just talked about and you haven't watched it, shame on you.
And read a comic book, you nerds.
Read a book. You can also check out our reviews of Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Black Widow, Shang Chi, and Loki in our show notes as well. I do not recommend you go back and watch WandaVision.
We do, but Max doesn't.
Never watch it again. I would recommend you never watch it. But Isaac, it was great to see you again, and happy Thanksgiving. I hope you enjoy your weekend without the kids.
My pleasure. Thank you very much. I will.
I'm sure it is your pleasure. And Jarret, just hydrate, get sleep, take care of your family. We have 4 long weeks ahead of us before we get to the final episode of this. You can do it. Stay strong.
I'm running off of just like pots and pots of coffee. I haven't slept in 3 days. I have a Mark-esque wall of just strings and pictures.
Jarret is like Charlie Day with like a picture of Hawkeye in the middle, and he's got all these like red like strings all over the place, and he's just like going crazy right now.
He's on the move, guys!
If you want to have conversations with Jarret, Isaac, myself, or any other of the Infinity Bros, you can come check out our Discord channel. Follow up with us at Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Check out our website. Shoot us an email, all that stuff. You got the itch to Twitch, come check us out on gaming. We do Pokemon card packs, and we play games, and we're going to start picking up Halo. It's going to be great. So you don't want to miss a lot of the content we're making. Also, if you haven't heard, we went viral on TikTok this last weekend. So make sure you check out our newest TikTok. Apparently, like, we are very like popular now. So like, just
you guys are really good at falling asleep.
We're like really big at TikTok.
Yeah.
So.
Good stuff.
But we love you guys 3000, and we will talk to you soon. See ya.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to the Infinity Bros podcast. You can find the Infinity Bros on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at the Infinity Bros. Feel free to send listener feedback via email at infinitybrospodcast@gmail.com.